defeated army pit was quieter than Lin Yao had imagined. There were no dead souls howling everywhere. No resentful ghosts rushed at them. There was not even a vast field of bones that could be seen at first glance. It was like a depression that the world had deliberately pressed flat. The gray-black soil was cracked and dry. Shattered armor was half buried in the mud. Broken spears leaned in the distance. Several remnant banners, their colors already impossible to distinguish, lay fallen along the edge of the pit. But the most unsettling things were the wooden tags. Many half-rotted wooden tags were scattered along the pit's edge. Some had names carved on them. Some only had blurred traces of characters left. Some were simply blank. They were not the empty circle unregistered marks of the black-tied false soldiers. They were identity tags made temporarily by the army back then. Unfortunately, many of them had been swallowed by war and mud before they could be hung on anyone. The Su ritual writer crouched and picked one up. Only the character Chen remained on the wooden tag. His expression grew heavy. These are all names that never returned. Uncle Zhou was not here. But Lin Yao had brought spare roster paper. He immediately had Shen Luo and the Su ritual writer help register the wooden tags. Shen Luo glanced around and said, "We record them now?" Lin Yao answered, "We record them now. If we wait until the fight is over, many things will be gone." Shen Luo did not argue. He began marking the positions of the wooden tags in his own way. It had to be said that Shen Luo was very useful. He did not speak much, but his records were extremely fast. For every wooden tag, he could classify its position, remaining characters, direction, and whether it carried contamination. The Su ritual writer judged which tags belonged to military identity tags and which might have been false tags placed later by the black-tied false soldiers. Soon, the first copy of the defeated army pit outer edge remnant name record began to take shape. Zhao Tai led Assault Squad 1 on guard at the perimeter. Guan and Bai Ji inspected the soil contamination. Bai Ji quickly discovered the problem. "The contamination here is strange." Guan asked, "Strange how?" "It is not constantly leaking outward." Bai Ji crouched on the ground and pinched up a little gray soil. "It is like something is pressing it down." "Pressed down by what?" Bai Ji looked toward the center of the pit. "I do not know." Lin Yao also looked toward the center of the pit. There was a slightly raised black stone platform there. It was incomplete. It looked like one corner of an altar base. But there was no black fog around the stone platform. Instead, a very faint ring of gray-white traces surrounded it. Old altar remains. Status: damaged. Function: once used to settle the military souls of the defeated army. Now ineffective. Hint: the remnant army sacrificial stone is not here, but this place may serve as an identifying entrance. Lin Yao's heart moved. The ancient records had been right. The true sacrificial stone was not on the altar. The altar remains were only the entrance. He walked closer to the old altar remains. The Defender's Order fragment, the Outer Wall Remnant Order, and the soul-settling epitaph draft all grew warm at the same time. The overlapping questions in the pit rang out again. Where are the reinforcements? Where is the order? Where is the banner? Where is the grain? Which roster do we belong to? This time, Lin Yao did not remain silent. He first took out the Outer Wall Remnant Order. The Outer Wall Order was broken. That was not the soldier's crime. The voices stopped for a moment. He then took out the Obsidian Banner Shadow Token. The shadow of the Obsidian Banner is here. The gray soil within the pit trembled faintly. The identity cords on Zhao Tai and the others also lit for an instant. Next, Lin Yao took out the transcript of the Expedition Grain account. This journey carries grain with accounts. We will not take the defeated army's remnant grain. The pit grew a little quieter. Finally, he opened the spare roster. On this journey, if we see a name, we will record it. If we see one without a name, we will write a record. If we see wrong responsibility, we will correct it. If we see merit, we will repay it. Those in defeated army pit who have not returned will no longer be treated as unregistered as a whole. When this sentence fell, a crack suddenly opened in the old altar remains. Gray-white light shone through the gap. A system prompt appeared. Defeated army pit outer edge order question passed. You have obtained qualification to enter the inner layer of defeated army pit. Warning, black tide false soldiers are approaching. Zhao Tai immediately raised his head. From the fog in the distance came the sound of orderly footsteps. There were not many of them, but they were extremely synchronized. A row of black tide false soldiers walked out from the southern fog. They did not charge directly. Instead, they formed ranks at the outer edge of defeated army pit. At the front was a nameless flag guard captain. It was not the one from last time. This one held no banner. Instead, it held a blank military register. The register was black as ink. Every page was empty. Nameless register soldier captain. Trait: uses an empty register to judge those whose names have not returned, attempting to transfer the remnant souls of defeated army pit into the black tide false soldiers. Lin Yao's eyes turned cold. The black tide false soldiers were indeed watching defeated army pit too. They had not come to defend territory. They had come to seize names. The nameless register soldier captain opened the blank military register and released a low voice. The defeated army has no reinforcements. The defeated army has no order. The defeated army has no banner. The defeated army has no roster. They should enter the tide. Inside defeated army pit, the questions that Lin Yao had just stabilized became restless again. Some damaged wooden tags began turning black. The Su ritual writer said urgently, "It is seizing judgment." Lin Yao understood. This was a struggle between two systems of order over the remnant souls of defeated army pit. Obsidian Village said, "You are not unregistered, we have come to restore names, restore responsibility, and restore orders." The Black Tide false soldiers said, "You lost, and had no reinforcements, no order, no banner, and no roster, so you should enter the tide." Whichever judgment stabilized first would tilt defeated army pit toward that side. Lin Yao immediately gave orders. Zhao Tai, defensive line. Shi Shang, protect the record group. Bai Ji, suppress the contamination. Su ritual writer, continue identifying names. Shen Luo, mark every remnant name position. Chen Hao, with me. Zhao Tai led Assault Squad 1 into formation. For the first time, the 8 of them formally formed ranks at the outer edge of defeated army pit. The banner's shadow token lit up. The nameless register soldier captain raised the blank military register. The Black Tide false soldiers began advancing. This was not merely an attack on the expedition team. Before Obsidian Village could complete the restoration of names, they wanted to judge defeated army pit as unregistered first. Lin Yao opened the soul-settling epitaph draft. The first sentence lit up. This stele does not record victory first. It records loss first. The gray soil in defeated army pit trembled. Before the battle began, the true judgment had already started. The blank military register in the nameless register soldier captain's hand was even more unsettling than the wordless black banner. The wordless black banner was suppression. The blank military register was erasure. Every time it turned a page, several remnant name wooden tags in defeated army pit turned black. The character traces that could still be recognized slowly vanished, as if soaked through by ink. The Su ritual writer's face went pale. It is erasing remnant names. Shen Luo immediately increased his marking speed. As he recorded positions, he cursed, "This thing is dirtier than Shen clan black accounts." Black accounts at least left hidden marks. The blank military register directly erased people from the records. Lin Yao's eyes were icy. Protect the remnant names first. He distributed spare roster paper to Shen Luo and the Su ritual writer. If you see a character that can be identified, copy it first. Even if you are unsure, copy it. Position, remaining characters, and features must all be recorded. Shen Luo asked, "What if we are wrong?" "If we are wrong, we can correct it later." Lin Yao said in a deep voice, "If we do not record it now, there will be nothing left to correct." Shen Luo's hand paused, then he nodded. Understood. On Zhao Tai's side, the Black Tide false soldiers had already collided with Assault Squad 1's defensive line. These false soldiers were stronger than those on the outskirts. They carried the Broken Order aura of defeated army pit. They were not complete soldier souls, but they imitated a military formation. Shield-bearing false soldiers pressed forward first. Spear-bearing false soldiers thrust out from behind the shields. 2 Black Tide archers fired soul arrows from the flank. Zhao Tai roared, "Wang Shan, shield line!" Wang Shan raised his shield and took the first wave of impact head-on. Li Feng's long spear stabbed out from the side of the shield, blocking the spear-bearing false soldiers. Liang Ping wanted to circle around the flank, but Zhao Tai shouted and stopped him. "Liang Ping, do not chase alone." Liang Ping forced himself to stop, then cooperated with Wu Chuan to hold the side. Su Fang pasted a name-settling talisman on the ground behind the team. Assault Squad 1 is on the roster. The name-settling talisman lit up, weakening the influence of the blank military register on the squad. But the true target of the blank military register was not them. It was the remnant souls and wooden tags in defeated army pit. Lin Yao stood in front of the old altar remains and opened the soul-settling epitaph draft. He knew that copying alone would not be fast enough. He had to confront and suppress the blank military register's judgment directly. The nameless register soldier captain declared in a low voice, "The defeated have no merit." The remnant name wooden tags in the pit trembled. Some of the merit records on the wooden tags began to dissolve. Lin Yao immediately opened the merit restoration records Uncle Zhou had organized. The defeated are not all without merit. Those who transported grain delivered grain. Those who guarded the wall preserved the wall. Those who argued for retreat wanted to save the remnant soldiers. Merit is not erased simply because of defeat. The soul-settling epitaph draft lit up. Old names such as Sun Er and Xiao Zhuang appeared. The ink color of the blank military register stalled for an instant. The nameless register soldier captain turned another page. The defeated have no order. The outer wall remnant order grew hot in Lin Yao's hand. Lin Yao said in a deep voice, "A broken order is not the same as no order. A wrong order is not the same as the soldier's crime." The outer wall order was broken by the military supervisor's overreach. The severed aid from the second wall remains unclear. The soldiers of defeated army pit shall not be judged guilty on the basis of having no order. Although Gaomo was not here, the outer wall death battle roster seemed to sense those words, and a heavy response came from far away. The broken spears and shattered armor in the pit trembled faintly. A crack appeared on the second page of the blank military register. The nameless register soldier captain's voice grew colder. "The defeated have no banner." As soon as those words appeared, the obsidian banner shadow token shook violently. Zhao Tai felt his chest tighten. Too many broken banners lay fallen inside defeated army pit. Back then, They truly had not waited for a banner that could gather the remnant soldiers again. This was the hardest point to refute. Lin Yao could not say they had a banner, because at that time, they did not. If he forced himself to say they had one, it would be false. And the War Soul altar could not be built on falsehood. Lin Yao was silent for half a breath. The blank military register seized the opportunity and opened wide. Large patches of wooden tags began turning black. The Su ritual writer cried urgently, "Lord Lin." Lin Yao raised the obsidian banner shadow token. In the past, they had no banner. Everyone was startled. He did not deny it. He admitted it. Back then in defeated Army Pit, the banner was broken, aid was severed, and the remnant soldiers lost their place of return. This is loss. This is responsibility. It cannot be erased. Defeated Army Pit fell silent for an instant. Lin Yao continued. But today, the shadow of the obsidian banner has come here. Not to rewrite the past, but to restore today's return. Those who had no banner then may temporarily return beneath the obsidian banner today. When the altar is established, a separate stele shall be raised for the defeated army. These words did not claim that they had always had a banner. Instead, they acknowledged that they had once had none, and offered a way to return today. The obsidian banner shadow token suddenly flared. Several fallen remnant banners in the pit slowly lifted one corner. They did not fully recover. It was only as if they had heard a new place to return. The third page of the blank military register shattered. The nameless register soldier captain finally released a sharp voice. It stopped declaring. Instead, it directly ordered the Black Tide false soldiers to attack Lin Yao's position. Zhao Tai roared, "Stop them!" Assault Squad 1 held the line fiercely. Wang Shan's shield was struck until a crack appeared. Li Feng's arm went numb. Liang Ping was forced 3 steps back by a false soldier and nearly lost his position. Su Fang immediately shouted, "Liang Ping, flank!" Liang Ping snapped awake and returned to position. Chen Hao seized the chance to rush out from the side and scatter a Black Tide archer. The Dragon Court players Chu he had brought also joined the line. The fighting gradually intensified. But the true core of the battle still lay between Lin Yao and the nameless register soldier captain. The nameless register soldier captain turned to the final page. It said in a low voice, "The defeated have no roster." This was its final judgment. If this sentence became established, every name, merit, order, and banner from before would be pulled back into unregistered status. All the remnant souls in defeated Army Pit would be incorporated into the Black Tide false soldiers. Lin Yao opened every register page he had brought. The remnant name record. The record of the nameless. The outer wall death battle roster. The soul settling epitaph draft. The expedition roster. The temporary return to roster order. One register after another opened before him. He said in a deep voice, "The defeated are not the same as the unregistered. Those not yet recorded shall be recorded today. Those not yet clear shall first enter the record of the nameless. Those wrongly blamed shall enter the responsibility register. Those with unrecorded merit shall have merit restored. Those whose bodies have not returned shall have their traces recorded. Those whose names are incomplete shall have their place retained. The soldiers of defeated Army Pit who have not returned shall not belong to the blank military register starting today. They shall temporarily return to the Obsidian Expedition roster." When this sentence fell, all the spare roster papers lit up at the same time. The remnant names Shen Luo had copied. The broken characters identified by the Su ritual writer. The record of the nameless that Zhao Tai and the others had brought back. All of them gathered into a gray-white light and covered the outer edge of defeated army pit. The blank military register shook violently. Its pages were no longer blank. Instead, one incomplete name after another pressed back onto them in reverse. Chun. Sun Chao Zhuang. Lin Xiaohuan. Nameless One. Red Cord. Outer Wall Remnant Soldier. Grain Transport Laborer. The names were incomplete. The records were not beautiful. But they existed. The blank military register released an ear-piercing crack. The nameless register soldier captain tried to close the register, but it was too late. Lin Yao raised the outer wall remnant order. The empty register does not stand. The defeated army does not enter the tide. The blank military register split down the middle. The nameless register soldier captain's body suddenly stiffened. Zhao Tai seized the opportunity and led the squad forward. Assault Squad 1, break. Li Feng and Wang Shan opened the way. Liang Ping and Su Feng struck from the sides. Chen Hao followed from behind and delivered the final blow. The nameless register soldier captain was shattered, turning into a mass of black fog. But from within the fog fell a scorched black page. Blank military register remnant page. Use, can analyze the unregistered judgment of the Black Tide false soldiers. Risk, high. The battle temporarily ended. The outer edge of defeated army pit became quiet again. But this time, there were not only questions within that quiet. There were also very faint responses. As if someone deep in the pit had heard their name being written again for the first time. A system prompt appeared. Defeated army pit outer edge judgment succeeded. Blank military register shattered. The remnant names of defeated army pit temporarily returned to the Obsidian expedition roster. Soul settling epitaph progress, 49% to 61%. The expedition team has obtained qualification to enter the inner layer of defeated army pit. Lin Yao put away the blank military register remnant page. He knew that the true defeated army pit had only now opened to him. The outer edge had only asked about the roster. The inner layer held the remnant army sacrificial stone. And it very likely held something left behind by He Jin and Luo Wence. After the blank military register shattered, the black fog around the outer edge of defeated army pit retreated by one layer. But no one relaxed because of it. Because after the fog dispersed, the true scenery inside the pit was finally revealed. The outer edge was only a gray-black depression. The inner layer was like a battlefield that had been cut off. The ground collapsed downward, forming ring-shaped broken slopes. With every layer downward, there was more shattered armor and more broken weapons. The deepest place could not be seen clearly. Only a dark stone color was visible, as if something enormous were buried beneath mud and bones. That was very likely where the remnant army sacrificial stone lay. Lin Yao did not immediately order them to go deeper. He first had everyone rest and reorganize. The confrontation with the blank military register had consumed more than physical strength. It had also consumed the stability of the roster, the banner's shadow token, and the soul-settling epitaph. Zhao Tai led Assault Squad 1 to reform. Wang Shan's shield had a crack in it. Li Feng had light black aura residue on his arm. Liang Ping was still relatively stable, but his eyes were clearly tighter. Su Feng immediately checked the grain bags and name-settling talismans. He found that no short rations were missing, and 2 name-settling talismans had been consumed. He immediately recorded it on a small wooden tag. That action made Shen Luo glance at him. "Have you kept accounts before?" Su Feng shook his head. "When I fled famine, there were no accounts. That is why I am afraid." After hearing this, Shen Luo did not ask further. He only looked at Su Feng a few more times, as if recording this person into his own judgment. Bai Ji treated the black aura residue on Li Feng. Her technique was now far more mature than in the first season. She first used clear heart grass powder to suppress the edges of the wound, then used dried blackstone moss slices to absorb the contamination floating on the surface. Finally, she had Li Feng report his name and responsibility. Li Feng. Present. Who are you? Forward Spear of Assault Squad 1. Where did this wound come from? Li Feng gritted his teeth. A false soldier's soul arrow from the blank military register. The wound belongs to the wound. Where does the person belong? To the Obsidian banner. Some of the black aura dispersed. Guan nodded beside them. You can continue, but do not force yourself. Li Feng smiled a little. If I force myself, squad leader Zhao will scold me anyway. Zhao Tai heard this and glared at him. Good that you know. This brief exchange loosened the tense atmosphere of the team slightly. But soon, a new voice came from within the pit. It was not a black-tied whisper. Nor was it a remnant soul's question. It was a military order. Outer wall remnant army, retreat to the second wall. The voice was clear and heavy, as if coming from a battlefield long ago. In the next breath, another voice rang out. The military supervisor has ordered that the outer wall is not permitted to retreat. The two military orders overlapped. The first ordered retreat. The second forbade retreat. Then a third voice appeared. The second wall is not open. Defeated soldiers will not be received. The three voices struck against one another inside the pit again and again. Retreat. No retreat. Not received. Retreat. No retreat. Not received. Zhao Tai's face looked ugly. What kind of cursed thing is this? Gao Mu was not here, but the Su ritual writer gave the answer. Broken order remnant thoughts. Lin Yao looked into the pit. He could feel that these three military orders were like three invisible ropes, tightly strangling the remnant souls inside defeated army pit. The retreat order made the soldiers want to withdraw. The military supervisor's order made them unable to withdraw. The second wall's refusal order meant that even if they withdrew, they had nowhere to return. This was not merely contradiction. It was a dead end. And precisely because of that, defeated army pit had become defeated army pit. Lin Yao took out the outer wall remnant order. The outer wall remnant order began to heat up. But it could only suppress the broken orders at the outer edge. It could not suppress the three conflicting orders in the inner layer. A system prompt appeared. Defeated army pit inner layer obstacle, threefold broken order. First, outer wall retreat order. Second, military supervisor no retreat order. Third, second wall refusal order. Hint, the responsibility of the three orders must be clarified, or the remnant army sacrificial stone cannot be approached. Lin Yao looked at the prompt and was not surprised. Defeated army pit was not simply a location. It was a knot of responsibility. Three military orders conflicted with one another, causing the remnant army back then to be unable to defend and unable to retreat, finally trapping all of them between the two walls. To take the sacrificial stone, this responsibility knot had to be untied. Shen Luo crouched beside a broken stone and suddenly said, "There are words here." Everyone looked toward him. Several very shallow military records were carved into the broken stone. The writing had almost been weathered away. The Su ritual writer leaned closer to identify them. Outer wall remnant unit, 327, retreat to the middle slope, 90 wounded, arrows exhausted, grain exhausted. The more he read, the lower his voice became. requesting the second wall be opened, no response. This was a request for aid record. The outer wall remnant unit had indeed retreated here. And they had asked the second wall to open the gate. But the second wall had not responded. Lin Yao asked, "Who recorded it?" The ritual writer continued identifying the writing. Signed. Pei Shen? Gao Mu had never mentioned this name before. Lin Yao opened the outer wall death battle roster and searched. He quickly found an incomplete record. Pei Shen. Identity, outer wall clerk soldier. Status, missing. Note, responsible for orders and battle reports before the outer wall fell. Clerk soldier. This identity was very important. He might have been the person who recorded the truth of defeated army pit back then. Lin Yao wrote Pei Shen's name into a temporary page of the expedition roster. Pei Shen, outer wall clerk soldier, suspected recorder of defeated army pit aid request. After the words fell, the first voice in the pit became clearer. Outer wall remnant army, retreat to the second wall. But the second military supervisor no retreat order immediately pressed down over it. The military supervisor has ordered that the outer wall is not permitted to retreat. Lin Yao looked at everyone. Find the source of the military supervisor order first. Shi Sheng soon found a broken command plaque on the other side. The plaque was carved with the military supervisor camp's mark. But the center of the plaque had been cut open by a blade. Military Supervisor No Retreat Order Remnant Plaque. Status, broken. Content, forbids the outer wall remnant unit from retreating into the second wall. Violators will be judged as routed deserters. Responsibility source, Military Supervisor Camp. Risk, remnant wrong responsibility suppression. When Zhao Tai saw the words routed deserters, his expression darkened. They were wounded that badly and still counted as routed? Shen Luo said coldly, "It looks better on the accounts." Everyone looked at him. Shen Luo said, "If the outer wall remnant unit retreated into the second wall, it meant the outer wall had truly fallen. If the military supervisor camp forbade retreat, the battle report could still say the outer wall remained held. Even if everyone died, as long as no one retreated into the second wall, it would not be a rout on paper." These words made everyone's expression turn unpleasant. Uncle Joe was not here, but if he were, he would certainly understand that this was the vilest kind of account. It was not recording fact. It was using the account surface to conceal responsibility. Lin Yao placed the military supervisor no retreat order remnant plaque into a temporary page of the contamination responsibility register. Military supervisor no retreat order. Responsibility judgment, used the name of military law to prevent reasonable retreat, transferring responsibility for the battle situation onto the remnant outer wall soldiers. Initial ruling, wrong order. After the words fell, the second voice fractured slightly. But soon, the third refusal order became heavier. The second wall is not open. Defeated soldiers will not be received. This one was the most troublesome. Because why the second wall had not opened was still unclear. Was it afraid of black tide infiltration? Was it forbidden by a higher order? Or had the inside already lost control? If this was not investigated clearly, they could not simply judge the second wall guilty. Lin Yao said, "We cannot judge directly." The Su ritual writer nodded. If the second wall was also under black tide pressure at the time, not opening the gate may not have been entirely wrong. Zhao Tai frowned. But because they did not open the gate, the outer wall remnant army all died. Lin Yao said, "That is why we need to investigate." The difficulty of defeated army pit's responsibility lay in the fact that each side might have had its own reasons. The outer wall wanted to retreat in order to save the remnant soldiers. The military supervisor forbade retreat because of wrong orders and responsibility concealment. The second wall refused to open, but the reason remained unknown. If Obsidian Village wanted to take the remnant army's sacrificial stone, it could not simply shout that the second wall was guilty and be done with it. At that moment, a dull scraping of armor came from deep within the pit. A figure walked out of the gray fog. He wore broken clerk soldier armor, with a broken brush hanging from his waist and half a black arrow buried in his chest. His face had no complete flesh, only a blurred outline. But he held a broken military document in his hands. Pei Shen Remnant Soul. Identity: Outer Wall Clerk Soldier. Status: Broken Order Remnant Soul. Obsession: Deliver the final military document of defeated army pit. Pei Shen raised his head, his hollow eyes looking toward Lin Yao. His voice was hoarse. For whom have you come? Lin Yao looked at him. This question could not be answered incorrectly. If he said he came for the outer wall, the resentment not with the second wall would remain unresolved. If he said he came for the second wall, the outer wall remnant army would not recognize him. If he said he came for Obsidian Village, he might be seen as an outsider coming to take the stone. Lin Yao was silent for half a breath, then answered. I have come for the record. Pei Shen's remnant soul moved. Lin Yao continued. The military document you could not deliver, I have come to read. The defeated army account you could not finish recording, I have come to complete. But I will not decide guilt for any side in advance. I will first read the document in your hands. Pei Shen's remnant soul lowered his head and looked at the military document in his hands. The document had already been more than half destroyed. It was as if he had held it for many years. Finally, he slowly handed the document forward. You have obtained, defeated army pit final military document. Hint, after reading it, the threefold broken order judgment may begin. Lin Yao took the military document. The three military orders in the pit stopped at the same time. It was as if all the dead were waiting for him to open the truth. The final military document was very light. So light it seemed it would scatter if touched. But when Lin Yao received it, his wrist suddenly sank. It was not weight. It was because too many undelivered names, wound counts, grain counts, arrow counts, and aid requests were pressed within that document. Lin Yao did not immediately open it. He first had Zhao Tai lead Assault Squad 1 to hold the perimeter. Although the blank military register had been broken, the Black Tide false soldiers would not give up there. Once the threefold broken order judgment opened in the inner layer of defeated army pit, the Black Tide false soldiers would inevitably appear again. Zhao Tai understood this. He adjusted the defensive line again. Li Feng and Wang Shan pressed forward. Liang Peng and Wu Chuan guarded the two sides. Lu Shi and Ding He were responsible for the retreat route. Su Feng stood at the center of the team, holding name-settling talismans and a short ration wooden tag. The banner shadow token was on Lin Yao, but Assault Squad 1 squad register was already stable. Even without the banner shadow token directly covering them for a short time, they could withstand low-level nameless suppression. Only then did Lin Yao open the military document. The first page was the count of the Outer Wall Remnant Unit. Outer Wall Remnant Unit, 327 people. Severely wounded, 92. Lightly wounded, 110. Able to fight, 125. Arrows exhausted. Grain exhausted. Talisman fire exhausted. Outer Wall Commandant dead. Military Supervisor no retreat order still in effect. These few lines were enough to make everyone fall silent. The Outer Wall Remnant Unit had not been a complete army. It was a half-crippled remnant force with grain and arrows exhausted, the main commander dead, more than half wounded, and still pressed down by the military supervisor's order. The second page of the military document requested the second wall be opened. Request that the second wall temporarily open the southern side gate and receive the severely wounded and the clerk soldiers. The remnant unit is willing to leave half its people to guard the outer slope and retreat only after the wounded enter the wall. If black tide contamination is suspected, they may first be isolated in the stone trench outside the gate. Please respond within order. When Lin Yao saw this, his gaze shifted slightly. The outer wall remnant unit had not requested that everyone immediately enter the wall. They had proposed a compromise. First receive the severely wounded and the clerk soldiers. They could be isolated in the stone trench. Half the remnant unit was willing to remain and guard the outer slope. This was not routing. This was orderly retreat. If Cao were here, he would certainly be even more silent. Because the retreat argument Cao Zhuang had proposed back then was completely consistent with this final military document. On the third page of the military document, the writing began to turn chaotic. It looked as if it had been added hastily during battle. The second wall did not open. There is fire on the wall. There seems to be internal disorder. Heard 3 short drums and 2 long from within the wall. Suspected sealed gate order. Cause unknown. This passage shook everyone's heart. The second wall had not simply refused to open. There was fire inside the wall. There seemed to be internal disorder. 3 short drums and 2 long. A sealed gate order. The Sioux ritual writer's expression changed slightly. 3 short and 2 long is an ancient army sealed gate signal. It means there is high-risk contamination or rebellion inside the wall, and the gate must not be opened. Zhao Tai could not help asking, so something happened to the second wall too? Lin Yao did not answer immediately. He continued turning the pages. The fourth page had only a few brief lines. The military supervisor camp's messenger arrived again. Said all who retreat are routed. Those who enter the second wall are to be executed. Remnant unit in uproar. I record this order not to recognize it, but to leave responsibility. Seeing the final sentence, Lin Yao raised his head and looked at Pei Shen's remnant soul. This clerk soldier had continued recording until the very end. He knew the military supervisor's order was wrong. But he could not change the order. What he could do was record it, so that someone in the future would know that this order had existed, and also know where it had been wrong. Pei Shen's remnant soul stared hollowly at Lin Yao. As if asking, "Did you see it?" Lin Yao nodded. "I saw it." On the final page of the military document, the writing had nearly been blurred by blood and black ash. The Sioux ritual writer used remnant scroll runes to help identify it. The words appeared little by little. If this document does not arrive, those who come later, do not judge us as routed. We retreated to save the wounded. We held because there was no gate. We died, not because we had no banner. The banner was broken. But our names were not willing to break. When the final sentence appeared, a cold wind suddenly swept through defeated army pit. Those fallen remnant banners lifted faintly. Countless shattered armor plates released soft clinking sounds. It was as if many soldiers who had been silent for a very long time had finally heard someone read this sentence. Their names were not willing to break. Not that their names had not broken, but that their names were not willing to break. They knew they might be forgotten. They knew the banner had broken, grain had run out, and aid had been severed. But they were not willing to become unregistered like this. Lin Yao closed the military document. A system prompt appeared. Defeated Army Pit final military document has been read. Threefold broken order judgment conditions met. Please make judgment. First, outer wall retreat order. Second, military supervisor no retreat order. Third, second wall refusal order. Everyone looked toward Lin Yao. At this moment, he could not be vague. If the judgment was wrong, the inner layer of defeated army pit would not open. It might even trigger a riot of remnant souls. Lin Yao first looked at the outer wall retreat order. Outer wall retreat order. Based on arrows exhausted, grain exhausted, the commandant dead, and more than half the unit wounded. Its purpose was not flight, but saving the wounded, regrouping, and continuing the fight. Judgment, reasonable. The first military order in the pit trembled. The voice saying retreat to the second wall was no longer urgent, but became stable. Next, Lin Yao looked at the military supervisor no retreat order remnant plaque. Military supervisor no retreat order. It used the name of military law to conceal responsibility for the outer wall's fall. It transferred the failure of the battle situation onto the remnant soldiers. It prevented reasonable retreat, causing the wounded to have no gate and the remnant unit to be trapped to death. Judgment, wrong order. A corner of the military supervisor no retreat order remnant plaque suddenly shattered. The second voice in the pit released a sharp cracking sound. But Lin Yao did not stop. Last was the second wall refusal order. This one was the hardest. Lin Yao said in a deep voice. Second wall refusal order. There was suspected internal disorder or high-risk contamination within the wall. The sealed gate order may have been valid. Therefore, it cannot be judged as full guilt simply. Zhao Tai and the others all held their breath. Lin Yao continued. But the outer wall remnant unit had already proposed isolating the severely wounded and receiving them in batches. The second wall gave no response, no explanation, established no outer trench reception for the wounded, and left no alternative retreat route. This is failure to respond. Judgment, the refusal had cause, but the failure to respond bears responsibility. When this sentence fell, the third military order did not shatter. It slowly sank. Like a huge stone pressing down in the pit had finally been moved aside a little. Lin Yao finally merged the three judgments. The outer wall remnant unit did not rout. The military supervisor's no retreat order was wrong. The second wall sealed the gate perhaps with cause, yet its failure to respond bears responsibility. The soldiers of defeated army pit do not enter the unregistered. Their argument for retreat, their responsibility to save the wounded, and their suffering in holding to the death shall enter the soul-settling epitaph. The soul-settling epitaph draft lit up. The outer wall remnant order, the military supervisor remnant plaque, and the final military document floated at the same time. The three conflicting military orders finally stopped striking against one another. A system prompt sounded. Threefold broken order judgment complete. Defeated army pit broken order remnant thoughts released. Soul settling epitaph progress, 61% to 73%. Defeated army pit inner layer opened. Pei Shen's remnant soul stood where he was, and the black arrow in his body slowly turned to ash. He lowered his head and performed a broken military salute. The document has been delivered. After saying this, his figure did not completely dissipate. Instead, it turned into a point of gray-white fire and fell into the soul-settling epitaph draft. Pei Shen's name has entered the epitaph. War Soul Fire Seed Prototype, Clerk Fire. Lin Yao's heart shook. War Soul Fire Seed. He had originally thought this would only appear when the altar was built. He had not expected that, after the obsession of Pei Shen, a clerk soldier, was judged, the first prototype fire seed would form. The Su ritual writer was so excited his voice changed. Clerk Fire. This is the fire of record. The War Soul altar does not only need combat military souls. It also needs record-keeping military souls. Lin Yao looked at that gray-white fire. He suddenly understood that the War Soul altar would not only summon charging soldiers. What it needed to carry was the order of an entire army. Fighting soldiers. Clerks. Grain transporters. Medics. Banner guards. Name recorders. All of these were part of an army. And all of them would also be part of Obsidian Village's future War Soul system. However, at the same time the inner layer of defeated army pit opened, applause suddenly came from the distant fog. Clap. 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 It was slow. And abrupt. Everyone immediately went on guard. A figure walked out of the gray fog. He wore clean black long clothes, completely out of place against the ruined battlefield around him. There was a faint smile on his face. Shen Luo's expression changed instantly. Luo Wence. Lin Yao looked at that person. Luo Wence smiled faintly. Splendid. As expected from someone who made the second research group revise his evaluation level overnight. Lin Yao, this is our first meeting. Behind him, black fog surged. Several figures without names, yet still retaining the outlines of players, slowly appeared. Luo Wence spread his hands. You use recorded names to save the defeated army. I am very curious. If a person voluntarily abandons their name and chooses to become a vessel with a higher synchronization rate, can your roster still save them? The inner layer of defeated army pit had opened. Luo Wence had appeared. The true enemy had finally walked in front of Lin Yao.